What's up guys, I'm Paul from E-commerce Gold, and in this video we're going to be looking at Shopify and Wix to see which one is the better option for building an online store. And to do this we're going to look at how much the platforms cost, what the platforms offer, and a quick overview of what both of them are like to use to see which one potentially is the better option for your online store. So let's get started. Right, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is the pricing. Now, as you can see on screen, Shopify is quite a bit more expensive on a monthly basis than Wix, but there is also an additional fee that you need to factor in when considering Shopify, which is the transaction fee. Now, this is charged on any payment received using a third-party payment gateway, such as PayPal or Amazon Pay. And it does depend on the plan you're on as to the transaction fee you pay. So with Shopify Basic, you pay 2%, with the Standard, you pay 1%, and with the Advanced, you pay 0.5%. But if you're using Shopify's in-house payment gateway, Shopify Payments, you don't need to pay this transaction fee. But this transaction fee combined with the monthly subscription cost can make it a bit more challenging to try and figure out which plan you should be on. And to help you out with that, I have created a calculator that helps you figure out all the fees you could potentially pay with Shopify, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So should you choose to go with Shopify, go and check that out and figure out which plan is going to be best for your online store. Now with Wix, they don't charge a transaction fee. There's also no annual turnover limit, but both platforms also allow you to sell unlimited products on all of their plans, which is really good. So Shopify is definitely the more expensive of the two, but what do you actually get for your money? Well, to start with, we're going to look at the features of the two platforms. Now, I'm not going to go through and break down every single feature of both of these platforms, because that would be me just basically reading everything off the screen, and this video will go on forever and a day. But when it comes to the features, they're actually pretty similar in terms of what they offer as standard. But one notable difference between the two is digital products, because Wix allows you to sell digital products as standard, whereas with Shopify you need to install an app for this, and this may be a paid for option if you want additional features for it. And talking about apps, that is also a big difference when it comes to features, because both platforms offer their own app store. But there is a massive difference in the number of apps that are available. Wix's app store has less than 1,000 to choose from, and it doesn't cover that many different features, functionalities, integrations, because it is quite a small app store. Shopify, on the other hand, is massive. There is over 3,000 apps, and I recently saw something that said there's over 7,000 apps available in the Shopify App Store, which is mind-blowing. And these apps cover different features, functionalities, integrations with third-party platforms. There is basically anything you can almost think of that you could possibly do with Shopify, there's probably an app for it. Now with both app stores, there is a selection of free apps and also paid options as well. And the paid options do vary in price. Some of them are a few dollars a month, some can range into hundreds or even potentially thousands of dollars a month. So this is something you do need to factor in when you're basically budgeting for your online store. But as features go, as standard, they're actually pretty similar in terms of what both platforms offer. So the next thing we want to look at is the theme selection and customization. Now Shopify is pretty good when it comes to this theme selection. Now in terms of free options, there's not that many to choose from. There's currently 9 free themes that are available on the new framework that they released in 2021. But there is over 80 paid options available directly through the Shopify theme store, and these range from $200 to around about $350. But outside of Shopify's ecosystem, there is also a massive number of themes you can choose from. If you go on marketplaces such as Theme Forest, I think there's over 1,000 to choose from on there, and you can also buy them directly from developers as well. So there's a massive number of themes that you can actually choose from. But what's it like when it comes to customization? Well, for this, we're going to jump into our Shopify dashboard. Decided to reload for a reason then. And we're going to go into our online store and go into the theme customizer. So if we click on customize, it brings up this theme customizer. Now, this is one of the best theme customers out there, in my opinion. The reason is it offers a lot of control over your site, because it's a full site customizer. So you can go in and you can change different pages on your site. So you can go in and change your product pages, your home pages, all different pages on your site. The only thing you can't do in the theme customizer is set up your blog post. You have to do that through the Shopify dashboard. But overall, it's a really easy to use customizer. There's lots of options available because it's basically built on sections and blocks. So you can see there's all these ones that are available on my demo store's homepage. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can add a section, and there's a large number of sections to choose from as standard. Now, if you install different apps, there'll be different options here, because there's like page builder apps that you can install that are different sections that you can add to your homepage or different pages across your site. And with all of these, there's individual options available for these sections and different blocks. There's lots of options available. It's really easy to use, and even if you've never built a website before, it's very quick and easy to go through, set up your store and make it look good. It's also easy to change themes as well, because you can just go in, install a new theme, you can customize it and then set it to your live store when it's all set up and ready to go. So Shopify's theme selection and customization is very, very good. But what about Wix? Well, Wix offers a good selection of free themes. In fact, it's one of the largest selections of free themes that's out there, because there's over 100 to choose from. But there is one real negative when it comes to themes with Wix, and that is changing themes, because they haven't made it as simple as Shopify, where you can just go in, install a new one and basically set it to live. With Wix, what you basically have to do is go in, create a new store and then transfer your subscription over. It's a really complicated process, and for a supposed platform that's very easy to use, as Wix keep marketing it, this is really difficult to use, really difficult to do, and it's just not very good. So changing themes isn't particularly easy to do, but what about when it comes to theme customization? Well, if we go into our Wix dashboard, click on our site and open the site editor, which usually takes a while to load. This is something that is a bit of an issue with Wix, things taking a bit of time to load. Now, I haven't got a slow internet connection, but this is just the Wix dashboard. So we're nearly there. There we go. So this is the Wix editor, which is basically their theme customizer. And there's almost too much you can do in here, because what you can do is you can click on elements and you can just drag them around doing little different things, and you can have all these prompts come up. So you have all these options to drag things around. You can come in here, drag this over here, drag this over there. There's so many different minor changes that you can make to your Wix store, and you could actually spend hours and hours in here making minute changes. They're going to make no real difference to your user's experience or help you increase your sales. It's almost as if there's too much you can do. Sometimes less is more, because with Shopify's theme customizer, you have a lot of control, but there's not too much you can do, because basically you're working inside set of parameters based on the sections. Whereas with Wix, there's lots you can do, almost too much, as I say. And also in the Wix editor as well, this is where you manage all of your apps, and I don't like this. So if you come into the apps, this is where you install them, you also configure them as well. And I just don't like the fact that there's too much basically reliance on this Wix editor to basically customize your store in a sense, in terms of apps and things like that. This should be something that's available to do via the main Wix dashboard. You shouldn't have to go into your Wix editor to install or remove an app. It just doesn't really make sense to me. So overall, when it comes to theme customization, there's lots you can do with Wix, but I actually think there's a little bit too much you can do. So what we'll do is we'll come out of the editor here, and the next thing we're going to talk about is the support. Now, both platforms offer 24/7 support, and they offer a variety of different ways you can contact the support. There's email support, there's live chat, and there's over the phone. So they're very similar in that sense. But Wix has made it slightly easier to contact their support team, because in the dashboard, they've now added this help icon that opens basically a chatbot that you can navigate through to speak to a real person. It does take a bit of skill to be able to navigate the chatbot, but you can get through and actually speak to a person just going through the main dashboard. Shopify doesn't offer this, unfortunately. So if we come out of the editor, to do this, what you have to do is go through the Shopify Help Center, navigate your way through there, and then you can find the contact options. So even though they're quite similar in terms of the support options that are available, Wix is definitely easier when it comes to actually contacting support. So next up, let's talk about hosting and performance. Now, this is quite important when it comes to your online store because you want your site to perform well, because the faster your site loads, the better user experience there is for your customers and the more chance you have of getting sales. Now, when it comes to the information about the hosting environment, Shopify and Wix take a completely different approach to this. Shopify are very upfront about it and they tell you exactly what you get with your hosting. You get unlimited bandwidth, unlimited storage, PCI compliant servers, you get a global CDN and a free SSL certificate with every store. That gets quite hard to say when you say it a few times. So there's a lot of information about the Shopify hosting environment. Wix, on the other hand, doesn't provide that much information. In fact, I had to do Google searches to find specific information because their hosting page doesn't provide any information. All it says is you basically get a free SSL certificate. That's the only information they really provide. What I was able to find out was that their servers are PCI compliant and they also have a global CDN as well. But as I say, I had to search for this information. So that's all on the surface, but what does that actually mean in reality? How do these sites perform? Well, we test them out at E-commerce Gold. And what we did was we took 5 customer example sites and ran them through Uptrend's speed tool using their New York-based server, testing on mobile and desktop devices. We did this once a day for 3 days to get a nice spread of information about these sites. So, how did they perform? Well, as you can see, there is quite a big difference in performance. Shopify beat Wix in every single category, and Shopify actually performs pretty well. It's not the best out there, but it's basically around where their industry competition is. I couldn't think of the word then. So they're not too bad. There is room for improvement with Shopify, but Wix, on the other hand, is an issue. Their hosting basically has been an issue since we've been doing performance testing for 3 years. We're going into our 4th year now. And Wix has always been one of the consistently worst performing platforms when it comes to speed, in terms of both load time and also page speed, which isn't great. And this is noticeable. It's actually noticeable on the front end of your site. So this front end, basically what your customers see, because there's Wix sites out there where you can actually see individual elements loading in, which isn't great. It doesn't provide a good user experience. It's also noticeable in the dashboard as well, because navigating around the Wix dashboard, you can end up getting quite well acquainted with the loading screen, because some pages can take a while to load. As I showed with the theme customizer, that took a while to load in comparison to Shopify's one that was quite quick and quite snappy. Wix just isn't. And from a user experience for your customers and also you as a website owner, it is quite frustrating. So next up, let's talk about what these platforms are like to get started with. Now, getting started with Shopify is a super simple process, because all you need is your email address and to create a password, and you can sign up for the free trial. Now, I will leave links to both Shopify and Wix in the description below, so if you want to go and try them both out for yourself, you can do. And if you go through my links, it's very much appreciated, because I do earn a commission if you sign up to these platforms. So thank you if you do that, because it helps me out massively. Well, it helps E-commerce Gold out massively. So thank you if you do go through our links. But getting started with Shopify is very simple to say. All you need is an email address and a password. And they will ask you a few questions in basically the onboarding process, where your store's at, what kind of stuff you're selling, because it helps them basically tailor the experience more to you and your requirements. And when you sign into your Shopify dashboard for the first time, it will look a little something like this. And you will be greeted by a short setup guide. Now, this isn't the best setup guide out there. In fact, it's quite limited in terms of the steps that they offer, which is quite surprising for a company the size of Shopify. You would have thought this would have been a more comprehensive setup guide. But overall, I actually really like the Shopify dashboard. I find it really easy to use. It's well laid out. It's got a nice feel to it. It's quite minimalist. The sidebar navigation is well labeled. It's easy to navigate through all the different areas of your Shopify store. So what about Wix? Well, getting started with Wix is actually pretty simple as well, because all you need is your email address and a password, and then you go through their onboarding process. As you can see, you get lots of options to upgrade to premium with Wix. You get emails all the time. But in the onboarding process, you'll be basically asked what you want to set your Wix site up for, because Wix is a website builder that allows people to sell online, whereas Shopify is a purpose-built e-commerce platform. And in the sign-up process, if you do want to sell online, you'll be able to install the Wix Stores app, which is basically their e-commerce store app. And you'll also be asked if you want to install other apps, basically however you want to set up your Wix store. And then you'll be sent through to the Wix dashboard. Now, one thing I will say for Wix is their setup guide is much better than Shopify's, because basically they add more steps. As you can see, there's lots of different prompts here to set up different things, and it's just a better onboarding process. And this will be customized depending on the apps you choose to install when you're going through the onboarding process. But there is one thing with the Wix dashboard when you actually get through to it, is it does seem to change every few months, and they can be quite drastic layout changes. Like, there can be changes to your main dashboard, there can be changes to your sidebar navigation. You'll find that certain headings will disappear, they'll be put into something else, and this can be quite annoying when you go on to try and use it. Like with me, it can be basically a couple of months between going on and trying Wix again, and I may go onto it and I just don't know where anything is because they've changed everything around. Now, Shopify does also do updates to their dashboard as well, but they're much more subtle. They're not such major changes as you see with Wix. And overall, the dashboard isn't too bad to use depending on how it's set up and what the layout is this month. But one thing that can happen with Wix is the sidebar navigation menu can get quite cluttered, especially if you install lots of Wix apps, because it adds different headings to the sidebar navigation, and it can just make it a little bit more challenging to navigate from one section to another, because you're having to scroll up and down, and as I say, certain headings will disappear or they'll be moved inside of another heading every so often. Wix just seems to like to change things every so often. Maybe they like to just keep me on my toes. So next up, let's talk about inventory management, because this is important when you're setting up your products. So for this one, I'm going to close this window down and go into my main demo store, which the dashboard looks like this once you've been through the setup guide. Let's go into products and add a new product. Now, Shopify's add new product page is very simple and it's very easy to use, because they've gone with a single page layout with all the main sections you need. So you've got all your information for your product, your media, so you can add videos, you can also add pictures as well, obviously, for your products, pricing, setup, inventory, basically every single section you need in order to get your product set up. Very simple, very easy to use. And when it comes to organizing your inventory, it's also pretty simple as well, because they've got collections and you can create a new collection. Now, one negative with the collections is you can only create a single level of collections. So you can't have a parent collection, then a sub collection. It doesn't allow you to do that. There are some workarounds for this, but it's not a proper way of doing it like you get with a lot of other category structures. And when it comes to creating a collection, it is pretty simple to do. So you just come in, enter a title, add the description for it, and then there's the collection type. Now, you've got the manual collections that are very simple, because you basically manually add products to it. You choose which products you want in the collection. Then you've got the automated ones. These are a little bit more complicated to set up, because it's based on rules or conditions that you set, and any products that match these conditions will automatically be added to your collections. And this takes a little bit of getting used to. I will leave a link to a video where I show you how to set up automated collections if you decide to go with Shopify, but it does take a little bit of time getting used to, because there's quite a few different options you can set up. But overall, it's pretty simple. It'd be nice if there was the option to add sub collections, because it would just make it easier for basically you to organize your products, and it could also be easier for your customers to navigate around your site as well. Even though there are a couple of workarounds, you can do it on the front end of your site so it appears like you do have sub collections. And finally, we're going to look at basically managing your inventory. You've set all your products up. What's it like to manage your inventory? Well, Shopify have a couple of options. The first one is the main inventory manager, where you can just come in and basically quickly and easily adjust the amount of inventory you have available. But they do also have a bulk editor as well, which is really, really good. As you can see, I've created a few test products here. And if we just select all the products and click on the edit product button, it brings up the bulk editor. And this is a useful tool to use with Shopify because you can customize the different options that are available because you can select the columns. And this is basically a filter system. So you can choose which columns you want displayed. So if you wanted the product type, we click on that and it adds the product type. And you can also remove different options as well, such as the product category. So this is really good. I really like this bulk editor because it enables you to come in and manage your inventory in bulk, which if you have a lot of products, you want to be doing because it's going to save you a lot of time. So that's what it's like to do with Shopify. Really good on the inventory management side of things because of that bulk editor. It just makes life easier. And there's only a few things you will actually need to go in and edit the products individually for, things like updating pictures and things like that. So what about Wix? What's this like? Well, if we come into our store products and we add a new product, the first thing it will ask you is, do you want to create a physical product or a digital product? The reason for this is the pages are slightly different. But for this, we're going to look at the physical product. As you can see, there's the loading icon. It's just not quick and snappy when it comes to navigating around the Wix dashboard, which just get a little bit frustrating. But overall, the Wix Add New Product page is pretty simple to use. It's a single page layout similar to Shopify, and it's got all the main sections you need. It's very easy to come through and set up a new product in Wix. And the digital product page is pretty similar as well. So if we actually come out of this and we look at the digital page, once again, once it loads, as you can see, there's just a couple of subtle differences. This one's got a prompt to upload your file. And there's just a few subtle differences between the two pages. But overall, very simple to add a new product. What about when it comes to organizing your products? Well, Wix also use collections, but their collection system is much more simplified than Shopify's because basically you manually add products to the collections. But as with Shopify, they don't allow for sub-collections. And also working around this on the front end of a Wix site isn't as easy to do as Shopify. So it can make it a bit more difficult for your customers to basically navigate around your store, go from collection to collection. It's just not quite as good as Shopify's option. If they added the option for sub-collections, it would make it considerably better. But what about when it comes to managing your inventory? You've got everything set up. What's that like to do? Well, they do have an inventory management tool that allows you to come in and easily update your stock quantity, very similar to Shopify's offering. But that's where the similarities end, because basically anything else you want to do, you're going to have to come in and do basically on a product by product basis, because there isn't really a full bulk editor. As you can see, there's a few options here where you can come in and make individual changes. So you can manage the collections, you can change the price. If you click on change price, it's just basically a global update to it. So you can increase by a certain amount or reduce it by a certain amount or percentage. It's not an individual one, so you can select all the products, it lists all those products, and you can just go and change the pricing easily. That has to be done on a product by product basis. So overall, when it comes to basically managing your inventory, Wix isn't as good as Shopify. And if you do have a large inventory, Wix could be quite frustrating to use. So next up is the order management, because hopefully that's where you're going to be spending a lot of your time. Now, Shopify is pretty good out of the box. As you can see, I've got a few test orders here. And if we select these orders, it will show you what you can do in terms of bulk options. You can create shipping labels, you can change the fulfillment status, you can capture payments. This won't apply to certain payment gateways because payments are automatically collected. And if we click on the more actions option, what you can do is you can print the packing slips, you can choose to archive the orders. But if you want to print things like order invoices or credit notes, things like that, you are going to have to install an app. And even though Shopify do their own one, it's not the best option out there. Some of the third-party ones are a much better option, such as Order Printer Pro, which is one of our personal favorites here at e-commerce Gold. So another thing you can do is also export the orders as well. So if you're using third-party order management software, you can export all that order information, or third-party accounting software, things like that. You can export it all and manage it in your third party. So overall, it's not too bad. It'd be nice if there was some more features available as standards, such as being able to print order invoices and things like that. But fortunately, there are some great apps out there that enable you to do this. So let's look at order management in Wix. Now, one thing that Wix has recently added the option to do is to create test orders without having to upgrade to one of the paid plans. which makes my life so much easier as somebody who reviews e-commerce platforms. But when it comes to order management in Wix, it's actually pretty good because they offer quite a few bulk features. So you can change the order fulfillment, you can mark the item as paid, you can also create an invoice, you can export the order information in CSV format, and you can also print off invoice as well as also archiving the orders if you want to. There's also some options that you can do on the invoices individually, which you can also do on Shopify as well. So it's actually not too bad, and for a smaller number of orders, it would actually be pretty easy to manage them. So Shopify versus Wix, which one is the better option for building an online store? Well, even though it's the more expensive option, I will go with Shopify for a couple of reasons. The first one is the hosting and performance. Shopify sites just load quicker, not only on the front end, which provides a better user experience for your customers, which can lead to an increase in conversion rates, but also on the back end as well, because Shopify's dashboard is just quick. It's easy to move from one page to another, whereas as I've shown in this video, Wix pages can take a few seconds to load, which as the website owner can be a little bit frustrating. The second reason is I just think Shopify is the easier to use out of the two platforms because there's just some things that they've simplified in Shopify that they don't do in Wix. Things like changing the theme. It's very easy to do this in Shopify, whereas Wix, this is quite a convoluted process. I also think the theme customization is easier in Shopify because they don't offer as many options as what's available in the Wix editor. Because say you can spend quite a few hours in there making minute changes, they're going to have no real impact on your customer's experience. Also things like the bulk editor for your inventory. It's so much easier to manage your inventory in Shopify, and if you've got a large inventory, you do want that. Whereas with Wix, it would be quite frustrating if you did have a large number of products. And number 3 is the community around Shopify. Not only in terms of information that's available online, because there's YouTube channels, there's blogs that are dedicated to Shopify, but there's also developers. So if you want to outsource your store development to somebody, there's lots of Shopify developers out there. And this also translates to themes and apps, because not only are there thousands of themes that you can choose from, but there are also thousands of apps that offer different features, functionality, and integrations. And because of this wide variety of different apps available, the integrations available may be more suitable to your store, and there may be more options available for things that you need for your business than that's available with Wix. So that's why I would choose Shopify over Wix. I just think it's the better option for building an online store. But you can test both of them out for yourself. As I say, there'll be links in the description to both Shopify and Wix, and you're free to go and try them out for yourself. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you found this video helpful, a like would be awesome. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.